Oh, it's been a long week, and I've gotten a lot done. There's a lot of changes that have been made recently with my aquariums downstairs and everything else downstairs. Details right after this. Hey YouTube, this is pecktec, and if you've been watching for a while, you know that I'm about to redo all the floors and paint the walls in my downstairs area of my house. Now, I didn't have a ton of aquariums down here. I had 3 small ones and 2 kind of medium to large ones, but it was quite a bit to move. See, what it comes down to is everything has to be off the floor. So, with the exception of like a couple of pieces of furniture that I'm going to get some people to help me move, we've moved out. We've moved out of the downstairs. There's nothing here. Now, over the years, many people have teased me about having small aquariums, but I'll tell you, this week I was really happy that most of my aquariums were 12 gallons and 5 gallons. The 55 and the 27 gallon were a little bit more complicated. Let me tell you a little bit about what I did to get those moved. The 55 was kind of tough. It was an older tank. It's got the seams. I was a little worried that the seams might be starting to go. I mean, I haven't had a leak or anything like that, but the tank's a good 11 or 12 years old. And it was pretty dirty and kind of scratched and stuff, so I didn't really want to keep that tank. Of course, when I put on Facebook that I was going to trash it, a local guy named Logan came by. He's starting up a fish club in Knoxville. I'm going to include the details down below. If you happen to be in Knoxville and would like to join a fish club, I know I'm going to join, but if you want to do it too, there'll be a link in the description. The small ones were easy enough to move. I basically drained them down as low as I can without like upsetting the fish too much, and I carried them upstairs. So I have the 12-gallon edge, I've got the 12-gallon Marineland tank, and then the 5-gallon spec. I basically dispersed them to various parts of the house, just move them. And I don't know if I'll probably move them back downstairs eventually, but for now they've got a nice place, semi-permanent place where they can live. The 55 was a little tougher. I didn't want to keep the tank. I was going to take the tank apart. So I went to Petco and I got, they had a $1 per gallon sale going on. I got a brand new 55 and I set it up on the workbench in the garage. Now, as I took the smaller tanks down, I would take at least a gallon or 2 of their water and I would add it to that 55 out in the garage, effectively giving everybody a water change as I moved them upstairs. Then when I got to the 55, I drained it about halfway down and I added all that water to the one in the garage. And I did this because when you add brand new water to a tank, there's a gas exchange that has to happen. There's all this stuff that happens a day or 2 after you add water to a tank. So I wanted to use as much kind of seasoned water as I could, or at least half of the water be kind of seasoned water that has already gone through that whole process. So I have quite a bit of fish in this 55, and netting them out I knew was going to be kind of painful. All of them were fast or big and boisterous, and so the next thing I needed to do was pull out all that driftwood and the plants. I had tons and tons of Anubis in this tank, and a lot of it didn't look very good. Some of it had gotten kind of algified, and they just weren't great quality plants. So I pulled out most of the driftwood, and I went piece by piece, pulling out pieces of Anubias and Java fern and all the various different things that are in there. All the stuff that doesn't have to be really planted into substrate, which I think I just had a couple of crypts that were the only things left that you actually plant in there. So what I did was I took out all the dead leaves and I took pieces of driftwood from inside the tank and I tied up what was left to all these little pieces of driftwood. This took hours. I mean, hours. I spent almost the entirety of Monday night tying off plants to pieces of driftwood, and then I set them in the new tank. I haven't put any substrate or anything like that in the tank in the garage. It's really just meant to be sort of a temporary holding center for the fish and these plants and stuff like that. I think it would be nice if I could keep them alive long enough to get the new tank going. I do have plans for a new, bigger tank to fill some of the space back here once everything's done. So after a long period of time, I did eventually get all the anubias that I wanted to get out of there. I got it all tied off and put in the other tank, and then it was time to start catching the fish. Again, this took maybe another hour or two. Even with the stuff out of the tank, I tried to go very gently and not really scare anybody, but I eventually transferred all the fish over to the other tank. At this point, I took apart the filters that were on there and I just added those to the other tank. I didn't do much. I kind of cleaned them up a little bit, but I didn't do much other than just move them from one tank to the other. And I've got a pretty nice garage tank. I didn't bother installing a heater because it stays about 80, almost 82 degrees, which might be even warmer than it was in here. Not a lot warmer, but just a little bit warmer. That's going to be their home till, I guess, presumably everything's done in here and we move back in. It's pretty crazy to see, like, the brand new glass, even this cheap $1 per gallon sale 55, the brand new glass without like a decade of algae and a decade of scratches and all that other stuff. How clear and bright everything is actually pretty neat to look at them in this brand new tank. Oh, and the very last tank, of course, was the 27-gallon cube. I decided to take the CO2 off. I just kind of took that off and set it aside. And then I drained the tank down. And this one, I think I had five 5-gallon buckets. I drained the tank into each of those buckets. This left a really small amount of water, maybe an inch, inch and a half of water. Just enough to keep the fish wet, and they weren't too happy about it, but the fish and the shrimp, everybody just kind of migrated down to the bottom of the aquarium, and they were hanging out right there in the front. Then I removed the lights and anything that could fall, and there was a rock inside. Anything that could fall over or really cause damage, I tried to take away. So I took the dolly and I wheeled it all out to the garage. Now once it was in the garage, I just added the water back that I put in those 5-gallon buckets, and I added a little bit of fresh water to effectively give it a water change. And then I had to go and reset the light and the filter. I went ahead and just left the CO2 off for now. I think it'll be okay without CO2 for a couple of weeks. So I'm just going to leave the CO2 off, and I'll add it when I add the tank back. I had planned on switching the sides because it's got a little bit of scratches on the front of this glass, and I was going to switch the sides around, but unfortunately it's not a perfect square. It's a little bit longer on one side than it is the other. So I would have had to do all the way to the back, and the way the plants are planted, with that slope that goes towards the back, it would have looked really crazy and would have warranted a rescape anyway. So I'm going to put a pin in that for now, and just put that out in the garage just the way it is. So I got a couple of little things to clean up here and there. The guys are literally coming today to rip all this carpet out. It's pretty early in the morning right now. I got up to do a little bit of work. But yeah, it's early Sunday morning. I'm sorry this video was late. Of course, I've been quite busy. But I did want to get something up for you guys on Sunday, kind of explain what's going on. The carpets are being ripped out. I can't walk or do anything inside the house for a week. They don't want me to walk on the tile. This is the tile that we're putting down. It kind of looks like wood, kind of like maybe an old farmhouse or something. But yeah, but it's actually a ceramic tile. And this is going to be all over the floor up here and all over the kitchen. It's going to basically be the whole downstairs. It's going to be covered in this stuff. So much better for water and vomit. My cat, unfortunately, likes to throw up now and then. But yeah, we're doing that. And then while everything's out, we're going to go ahead and paint the walls. So I'm looking at probably at least 3 or 4 weeks before I really start to move everything back in. I'll be back in the house and able to make videos upstairs and do that sort of thing probably as soon as next week. I think next weekend will be kind of questionable as to what I pull together. Hopefully I can pull something interesting get together to show, but I'm just going to kind of chug on. If nothing else, I'll do a Q&A live stream or something like that. If you have some ideas for a video or something you really want to see, be sure to leave a comment down below. You guys have got a little bit more work to do, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Until next time, follow your bliss. Keep a clean tank. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. So in a nutshell, my floors. Hey YouTube, this is pecktec, and if you're Hey YouTube, this is pecktec, and if you've been watching for a while, you'll know about it.